Number 10. Captain Last. You'll learn pretty early on in this list today that the Captain America legacy isn't always carried on by the most deserving. Sometimes it's taken up by a terrible warlord, and that is exactly what happened in this case. On Earth 13,153, humanity makes its last stand in the only place strong enough to survive: Brooklyn. The former Spider-Man Miles Morales leads the last of civilization into the future against the evil that is still very prevalent in the world. Captain Last is the leader of the One America Army, a group of militant scrappers based in the tri-state area following the Earth's decimation by the germs. Basing himself off of Captain America, Last also gains his powers from a super soldier serum, though it's not really explained when or how, and he wears a costume that resembles Cap's signature look, shield and all. Last and his army attacked a caravan carrying supplies from Jersey City to Brooklyn, but were defeated by Spider-Man and his allies. Somehow they were able to find a way to merge Captain Last with a germ, allowing them to break through Brooklyn's defenses and evade the city. Captain Last sought out and battled Spider-Man, but Miles used his powers of bioelectricity to kill the Captain once and for all. Check out this monstrous Captain for yourself in his first and thankfully last appearance in 2020's Miles Morales: The End #1. Number 9. Captain Zealandia. A Captain America alternate hailing from Earth 616, Captain Zealandia is one of Arnim Zola's mutated clones of Captain America that was exposed to negatively charged gamma rays. Captain Zealandia possesses all the powers you associate with Captain America, such as superhuman strength, stamina, and agility, but they are all amped up a notch thanks to the gamma rays that they were exposed to. They also carry around a shield that resembles Captain America's, however it is a different color scheme, is made of an unknown material, and has sharpened edges that make it look kind of like a buzzsaw. This storyline takes place after Steve's return from Dimension 7, a world of mutates created by Zola where Steve had been trapped for 11 years. This storyline takes place after Steve's return from Dimension Z, a world of mutates created by Zola where Steve had been trapped for 11 years. Steve is awoken and tortured both mentally and physically by Captain Zealandia, so much so that Steve gets to a point where he's had enough and just impales Captain Zealandia with a shield. This didn't actually get rid of our Cap variant though, because he later resurfaces as the leader of the Unvengers, a team of mutated clones based on the Avengers including Iron Man, Hulk, and Thor. Check out this scary looking Cap clone for yourself, starting with his first appearance in 2013's Captain America Volume 7 Number 4. Number 8. Captain MEXICA. From Earth 1519, a reality where the Aztecs had never been conquered, comes a Captain America variant that is pretty freaking scary looking. Not a whole lot is known about Captain MEXICA's background, but it is assumed that it's similar to Earth 616's Captain America because they seemingly have the same powers and similar gear. At some point, Captain MEXICA found their way to Earth 616 and they were immediately caught and put in stasis by the Alternate Reality Monitoring and Operational Response Agency, or ARMOR for short. After a zombie Morbius was found to be impersonating his mainstream counterpart, he began infecting ARMOR agents left and right, turning them all into zombies. In this process, Captain MEXICA was freed from stasis, infected, and began feasting on ARMOR agents as an ever-hungry zombie. After having his fill, he attacked Machine Man, who cut him in half, seemingly killing him. However, it was not confirmed, since he's a zombie and hasn't really made an appearance since. Give this zombie captain story a read for yourself, starting with their first appearance in 2009's Marvel Zombies 3 Number 4. Number 7. Steven Rogers, Earth 70,105. In the 5-issue limited series Bullet Points, we are shown an alternate reality where Dr. Erskine is killed the day before implementing the Captain America program. Still very sick and with no other option, Steve volunteered himself for another top secret government project known as Project Iron Man, and I think you know what that means. Steve's body is bonded to a giant suit of armor that resembles the Mark I Iron Man suit, and with this suit he is able to fight for America in World War II. Thanks to this new outer shell, he is able to simulate the powers and abilities that his 616 counterpart gained from the super soldier serum. However, I feel this was a huge sacrifice because his skin was literally grafted to the suit. Years later, he was finally freed from the suit, but that did not last very long because he was forced back into it in order to fight Peter Parker, the Hulk of this universe. Bruce Banner is actually the Spider-Man in this universe. It's a really interesting and smart switch that the writers did, and I really liked it a lot. But anyways, sadly in this fight with Peter, Steve dies because of the sheer strength that the Hulk possesses. Highly recommend you give the storyline a read for yourself, starting with 2007's Bullet Points Number 1. Number 6. Baron Blood. You're probably familiar with John Falsworth, the Baron Blood of Earth 616. You know, the young adult who got turned into a vampire by Dracula himself, and then had his body mutated and altered by German scientists? Good, I'm glad you know who he is because that is not at all who I'm going to be talking about. I am actually talking about Earth 8101's Baron Blood, that hails from the Marvel Apes universe. Don't worry though, this Baron still possesses all of the powers and abilities of his 616 counterpart, and he is also said to be at the peak of gorilla physicality. Revealed to be the one who is responsible for the vampire invaders, He ambushed Captain America, took his form, froze him in an iceberg. Continuing to turn other inhabitants of this universe into zombies, he became the leader of the Ape Avengers, which, funnily enough, contained a lot of reformed supervillains. He secretly plotted to enter Earth 616 for further food, and to accomplish this, he killed his world's version of Mr. Fantastic to gain access to tech that would allow him to hop between worlds. During the final battle between the Ape Avengers and the Outcast, Baron Blood wounded Speedball, which forced Gibbon and Fiona to take Speedball with them to Earth 616. However, Baron Blood didn't end up making it too far because he was later killed by Ape X. Check out the Ape Avengers and the Marvel Apes universe for yourself by checking out 2008's Marvel Apes #1. Number 5. US Agent. A huge shakeup for Cap came up in a bold 1987 storyline. When a government commission declared that Steve had to do their bidding to continue as Captain America, Steve was obviously resistant because, who says his ideals are necessarily going to line up with theirs? He decided to just quit the whole role altogether, and the commission turned to John Walker to become the new Cap. However, he was much more brutal and short-tempered than our lovable Steve Rogers. Thanks to his power broker enhancements, Walker possesses basically all the same abilities that Steve has, not to mention he is a military-trained fighter and also trained under the Taskmaster at one point to hone his gymnastic and acrobatic skills. A real breaking point for this character is when a group known as the Watchdogs took out his parents, causing Walker to experience extreme levels of grief and to go on a bloody rampage. These bad actions led him to being deemed unworthy of the Captain America name, and he soon after faked his own death and came back as the US Agent. As the US Agent, we have seen Walker as a member of the Dark Avengers, Omega Flight, Jury, and even the Watchdogs as an undercover agent. There is so much more when it comes to this character, so go check him out for yourself, starting with his first appearance as the Super Patriot in 1986's Captain America number 323, or just feel free to skip ahead to his time as the US Agent, starting with 1989's Captain America number 354. Number 4. Captain HYDRA. You're probably thinking that I'm going to be talking about the time where it was revealed that Captain America was actually an agent for HYDRA and the entire fandom just lost their mind when they saw the infamous Hail HYDRA panel. Now, I thought it would be way too easy to include that dark version of Captain America and challenge myself to look for some other variants, but don't worry, if we do a part 2, I will definitely include him in that list. Enough with that tangent though, let's get back on track with Leopold Zola of Earth 85,826. Possessing the exact same powers and abilities of his 616 counterpart, aka NOMAD, this version of Zola differs from him because he is a spoiled and arrogant brat who does literally whatever he wants. The Captain led Hydra's team of Avengers to capture NOMAD and Captain America's daughter Ellie in order to end the remnants of the rebel movement which was resisting Hydra's rule in the domain of the Hydra Empire. He pulled no punches when doing this, killing anyone who got in his way, and even broke Nomad's spine during a one-on-one fight between the two. Check out Leopold Zola for yourself, starting with his first appearance in 2015's Hail HYDRA #1. Number 3. Anti-Cap. With a name like Anti-Cap, you know this guy is going to be pretty dark. Not a whole lot is known about Anti-Cap, but according to his files, we know that he was enlisted in the Navy after the Oklahoma City bombing. He almost became a SEAL, but didn't pass the psychological test, and as a US Marine, he killed one of the biggest drug dealers around. But that's about it. At some point during his time in the Navy, he agreed to undergo an experiment that would basically make him the Navy's version of Captain America through something called the AVX patch. It worked and gave him similar abilities to Captain America, but only worsened his mental state, leading him to murder an admiral that was overseeing the project. He went AWOL after that, and Captain America and the Falcon were tasked with finding him before he could cause any more damage. After a long search, Captain America found Anti-Cap, and the two battled it out for a while, with Steve coming out on top. Defeated both physically and mentally, Anti-Cap chose to take his own life into his own hands and dropped in front of a moving subway train, ending his own life. Why not check this character out for yourself, starting with their first appearance in 2004's Captain America and the Falcon #1. Number 2. Colonel America, aka Zombie Cap. Now I know you're all expecting this one to pop up on this list at some point. Like most of the other heroes from Earth 2149, very little is known about Colonel America's life before the zombie plague, but it can be safely assumed that it is similar to his 616 counterpart, with the only difference being an obvious rank change and the fact that Colonel America served as the President of the United States for almost a full term. During a battle with Sentry, Colonel America was infected with the zombie virus, and he is actually the one responsible for turning Spider-Man after he launched himself into the air and biting him. With an insatiable hunger, Colonel and the rest of the Avengers go on a hunger-fueled rampage. Skip ahead a little bit and we see Rogers alongside other zombies gain cosmic powers after devouring the Silver Surfer, but even the cosmic powers he gained couldn't prevent his death because during a fight with the Red Skull, he just straight up gets his brain scooped out. Fast forward another 40 years and we find out that the Colonel's brain is still very much alive thanks to the zombie virus, and it ends up being transplanted into Black Panther's dead son T'Challa. However, this turned out to be a terrible terrible idea because Colonel America turned into a battle-crazed zombie that couldn't think of anything other than fighting and killing. His final fate was never actually confirmed, but it can be assumed that he died in one of the later battles that ensued between the zombies and the humans. Now, the Zombieverse is probably my favorite Marvel universe out there, and I would love to hear your thoughts on it too, so check out Colonel America in his first appearance in 2007's Marvel Zombies vs. Army of Darkness #1, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Number 1. Steve Rogers, Earth 11,326. Still the leader of the Avengers even in this universe, this Steve Rogers is not the nice guy that we would expect, or at least he doesn't start out that way. With all of the powers and abilities of his 616 counterpart, Captain America of Earth 11,326 was recruited as a part of a team to hunt and kill all mutants. During a mission to the mutant stronghold Fortress X, he succumbed to a deep and primal bloodlust and just killed Mystique because he thought that she was a threat, only to find out she was actually protecting a group of mutant children from the dangers of the world. With her dying breath, she completely changes Cap's outlook on life by questioning if what he was doing was actually right and how he could have let himself go this far. Realizing his mistake, Cap called off the mission and took everything into his own hands, killing the Steel Corps in order to protect the mutant children from any more horrors. Alongside the other members of the Avengers, Cap fought to protect Fortress X but was killed by the Hulk. He redeemed himself in the eyes of the mutants enough to inspire them to continue the fight in his honor though. Now I put this Captain America at the top of this list today because it shows just how truly merciless a Captain America who has lost his values and humanity can be. Check him out for yourself in the Age of X storyline starting with 2011's Age of X Universe #1.
Number 10. Captain Venom. This version of Cap first appeared in Edge of Venomverse. He comes from Earth 17084, of which we know very little. This version of Steve Rogers finds himself bonded to the Venom symbiote and becomes one of the leaders of the Resistance. The Resistance was a group of symbiotes and hosts who aimed to take down the Poisons, who were traversing through the multiverse, absorbing symbiotes into their hive. Unfortunately, Captain Venom eventually ended up being captured and assimilated by the Poisons himself. Unfortunate because he was just so terrifying and cool looking. Number 9. SKRULL Captain America. This version of Cap isn't obviously really him, but a SKRULL imposter. The scariest thing about this version is that no one really seemed to pick up on the fact that it wasn't Steve Rogers at all. This SKRULL imposter is Pitt O'Neilly and is from the Avengers. This SKRULL imposter is Pitt O'Neilly and is from the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes animated series. And in fact, Cap wasn't impersonated only once in that series by a SKRULL, but twice. The SKRULL took Cap's place during the SKRULL invasion and would only end up being discovered by the other Avengers during their last stand against the SKRULLs, when it was kinda too late. Fortunately, the real Captain America later would manage to escape imprisonment and take down the SKRULL who was impersonating him. Number 8. Soldier Supreme. This alternate comes to us from the Warp World and poses the amalgamation of Dr. Stephen Strange and Captain America's Steve Rogers into one character, giving us Stephen Rogers, who signed up for the experimental super soldier project in World War II. But instead of it being a serum, the process to transform Stephen is actually revealed to be a mystical ritual, granting him both magical abilities as well as an enhanced, strengthened physiology. Number 7. Captain Apocalypse. In Age of X-Men, Apocalypse and the X-Tracks, Apocalypse and his team of mutants aim to rise up against X-Man Nate Gray's Utopia, where there is no love. They aim to teach the world to love again throughout this psychedelic short series. In issue number 4, Apocalypse Jr., his clone, who in this series is referred to actually as his son, also known as Genesis or Evan Sabanur, decides to take up the look of the champion Captain America. He even has an A on his helmet and his chest and his very own shield with an A on it as well. Unfortunately, this look for Evan is only temporary, as he is defeated by Omega Red and returns to his original form, turning back into looking like a young little boy. Aww. Number 6. What If Age of Apocalypse. This version of Steve Rogers is the leader of the Defenders, the last standing heroic group against Apocalypse and his horsemen, who have seized control of the Earth and turned it into a wasteland of death, following the demise of both Magneto and Professor Xavier. This version of Cap looks like a tank. He is super jacked. Not that he's not normally super jacked, but he is big. He is much more determined and grim and fights with Wolverine at his side, armed with a chipped shield and Thor's hammer, in what appears to be a scaled armor version of his suit. He just looks frightening. Also, that whole alternate world seems terrifying. Number 5, Cap Wolf. This is both a terrifying and wacky alternate for Cap, truth be told. Both scary and silly all at once, this story is. Captain America ends up investigating a town in search for his friend John Jameson after he finds out from Wolverine that there apparently is a werewolf on the loose. Thinking that his pilot and friend may be plagued with more Wolfie and Moon Gem related problems, Cap hopes to find John and figure out just what is going on. During his exploits, he discovers that the people of the town are actually being forcibly transformed into werewolves with a serum. Although I'm sure he wasn't hoping for this revelation to be as hands-on as it is, as he ends up himself being exposed and transformed. Fortunately, due to also being exposed and transformed by the super soldier serum previously, he manages to get to keep his wits about him while he's in his werewolf form, and find himself not giving in to the more feral instincts of a standard werewolf. This story can be found starting in issue 402 of Captain America, and also includes a random Cable appearance, as well as some other mutants who are also lycanthropic, like Wolfsbane, and also has more than one fight happen between Cap and Wolverine. Number 4, Iron Man. During the series Bullet Points, we get to explore a world where Dr. Erskine was killed before Steve Rogers could ever become a super soldier or Captain America. Instead, this causes Rogers to sign up for the experimental project Iron Man, which is basically a last resort of the militaries. A project that actually was already scrapped because they didn't have a pilot for the suit. They needed someone slim enough who would actually be willing to give up a normal life in order to take on the role of Iron Man, as the pilot would have his heart literally bonded and fully connected with the suit's giant chest plate without any way to safely disconnect it. And this isn't like when Tony Stark had that small thing in his chest. This is like, it's huge. In a way, the suit actually becomes part of Steve Rogers. Fortunately, Steve, being the patriotic man that he is, he agrees, and he is transformed into the giant, indestructible World War II version of Iron Man, even choosing to sacrifice more pain meds and sedation to help the surgeons complete his operation quicker, while making it exceedingly painful for him though. Ouch. I would not want to have heart surgery without sedatives. I've had a small amount of things done to my heart, and it is not fun, let me tell you, when you are even remotely awake. Number 3, Red Skull. Okay, so in the Old Man Logan universe, Cap is admittedly nowhere to be found, as he is kinda long dead. However, his old foe, Johann Schmidt, lives on and proclaims himself president. And it's through the Red Skull of Earth 807-128, belonging to Old Man Logan, that we get to imagine another disturbing alternate version for the Captain America mantle. You see, while Red Skull doesn't really call himself Captain America or anything, he does like to walk around in his sworn enemy's blood-stained uniform and collecting trophies belonging to dead superheroes. Pretty serial killer-esque and creepy, if you ask me. Number 2, Hydra Supreme. One of the most shocking versions of Cap out there. This version was created when the Captain America of Earth 616 was altered using the Cosmic Cube to become the best version of himself, as well as to be loyal to Hydra. This created an alternate timeline where Captain America became a Hydra sleeper agent on the alternate Earth of 61311. In this reality, Steve would be placed in Hydra's care when he was just a child, after he found himself orphaned, although he would for a long time rebel and reject Hydra's attempts to indoctrinate him with their beliefs. Eventually, however, he was won over, with Zemo becoming his best friend within Hydra. During World War II, he was sent back to the United States as an undercover spy and assassin for Hydra. He would remain there undercover, feeding Hydra information and still working for them without anyone suspecting anything, until he revealed his true allegiance with Hydra in the modern day, after they had taken over the state, with Cap ruling as the new leader and new Hydra Supreme. Number 1, Zombie Cap. This version of Cap comes to us from the Marvel Zombies reality of Earth 2149. Instead of being known as Captain America in this reality, he was actually known as Colonel America. Colonel America finds himself turned into a zombie in the initial fight against the Sentry. From there, his story gets pretty crazy. It is the zombieverse after all. He is the one responsible for infecting Spider-Man, Peter Parker, with the virus. He also helps to take down Magneto, the Silver Surfer, and Galactus. And he is one of the zombies who ends up receiving the power cosmic. He does end up defeated, however, by the horrific zombified Red Skull, who scoops out his brains. But with his brains not being consumed, as he was also undead, and the undead apparently taste terrible to zombies, he would later end up having his brains implanted in the body of Black Panther's deceased son in the future, T'Challa. Yeah, Marvel Zombies is weird. Number 10, Age of X suit. This suit looks very similar to Captain America's standard go-to, but with a few tweaks. He's got one of those super 90s small pouched belts. His suit is just blue and white, and it has blue and white camo print along the shoulders. Oh yeah, and his shield also glows. What really makes this suit scary is what it represents for this usually noble Avenger. In Age of X, the Avengers are hunting down and killing mutants due to anti-mutant legislation. This version of Cap finds and kills Mystique only to discover that she was protecting mutant children. This prompts Cap to reassess the Avengers team's orders, prompting them to change sides in the conflict and instead fight with, not against, the mutants. Phew, that's usually not how it goes though, as we've seen in many Avengers vs. X-Men. Number 9, Exoskeleton suit. This version of Captain's suit was designed by Iron Man, and as its name implies, it's quite a bit tougher than the standard outfit. It has shiny metal gauntlets and boots, and some pretty crazy shoulder pauldrons, as well as a metal helmet that only leaves his eyes and mouth exposed. Most fans might think this suit is more cool than scary, and sure, it's definitely cool, but I do think it would be a scary suit to see headed your way were you the bad guy when Cap was chasing you down, as it's much tougher looking than the original. Number 8, Age of Ultron suit. In the Age of Ultron storyline, we see Captain America struggle to go on in a tattered version of his suit. Sure, this is similar to the classic, but just tattered, but what's really frightening here is what this suit represents for Cap. Defeat. Not something Captain America is super experienced in dealing with. Even when he was a HYDRA sleeper agent, he was still remarkably successful. Not only is this suit all torn up, but his shield is also reduced to slivers after it is broken. Cap still manages to pull together a plan and a team to try and stop Ultron, of course, but as the state of his suit indicates, it doesn't end up going well for Steve. Number 7, MCU'S NOMAD suit. After Steve Rogers leaves the Avengers and goes into hiding following the events of Civil War, after he breaks out the heroes who are imprisoned in the raft, he gets a new look. In the comics, this look could be likened to what he wore when he was in his black suit as Nomad after he left the title of Captain America, or the suit that he wore when he was known as the Captain. Cap decided to go out on his own in the comics due to the way the government sought to control and use him. Sound familiar? Hence the name for this point. Hence why I like to refer to this MCU look as the Nomad suit, even though he's not really exactly Nomad. But still. And one of the things that makes this suit in the MCU so frightening is how capable it is. This suit came with vibranium arm shields that allowed him to hold his own momentarily alone against Thanos. The suit also represents a time when Captain America is really more of a vigilante than he ever was before. No longer working with S.H.I.E.L.D. or the military, but instead for the ideals that he believes in, which I think makes him an even more formidable foe in my opinion, should you have to come up against him in battle. Number 6, Civil Warrior. This version of Cap's suit comes from the game Marvel Contest of Champions. This alternate version of Cap actually succeeded in stopping Iron Man during the events of Civil War by killing him. To honor his fallen friend and rival, Steve Rogers uses part of Tony's Iron Man suit to create the Civil Warrior suit, which is basically like a Captain America version of the Iron Man suit, complete with its own further technologically advanced shield. This is a fearsome suit that means business, and also represents an alarming alternate reality where the Civil War ended with bloodshed and with us permanently losing that reality's Tony Stark. A frightening reality to imagine. Reality completely without Tony Stark. Kind of the MCU. Unless he comes back. We'll see what happens. Number 5, a marriage droid. I mean, the whole package really is frightening here. As well as the ginormous size of the suit and the version of Cap that is wearing it, a marriage droid is a villain known as Lyle Decker, who after having his plans foiled by Steve Rogers as Captain America and his sidekick Bucky, built himself a 12-foot tall android body. Because what else do you do when you've been defeated as a villain? He later managed to capture Captain America and infuse Cap's powers into the android body that he'd made. Decker then uploaded his consciousness into the body, making that body kind of a weird android suit for him. But also, it was kind of just him because he was in it. His mind was in it. The suit that android body wears is also that of Captain America, but of course a massive version of his suit because a 12-foot tall android body. This weird alternate version in the main continuity appears as a foe and also pops up in the miniseries Captain America Corps, where you can also find some other really cool alternates of Captain America as well. Number 4, US Agent / the Captain suit. We can't talk about dark and spooky Captain America suits without mentioning one of the most iconic. That would of course be the suit belonging to US Agent John Walker. This suit is almost all black, save for the red and white stripes in the rectangle on the front of its chest, and its red gloves and boots. This suit relates back to another one that we touched on earlier in Cap's history when we talked about Steve's fugitive, or NOMAD suit as I was calling it, from the MCU. And of course the NOMAD suit in the comics. The history here is that after Captain America dropped his mantle, John Walker was hired by the government to replace Captain America, moving from the name Super Patriot to Captain America himself. Rogers himself, however, had moved from the name Nomad and had just adopted the name The Captain, also changing his look. While John Walker and Steve Rogers fought, eventually Walker changed sides and actually began working with Cap. When the day had been won, Rogers returned to the mantle and look of Captain America, and later on, after John Walker resurfaced, he was given the name US Agent as well as Rogers' old suit that he had worn when he was the Captain. Number 3, Iron Man suit. This suit comes to us from the alternate reality of Earth 70105, which explores a world where Dr. Erskine was killed before Rogers could be transformed into a super soldier. Instead, Steve ends up signing up for the Iron Man project, which sees him fused with a giant suit of armor. If you're wondering where you can read this story and see this suit, it can be found in the pages of the Marvel Limited series Bullet Points. The frightening thing about this suit for Steve Rogers is that he can't get out of it. He had himself surgically fused with the suit, which was necessary in order for him to become this retro-looking version of Iron Man, and for him to become the powerful force that he was in World War II. He would eventually get removed from the suit, but would be forced to go back into it years later to fight the alternate version of the Hulk. Number 2, Age of X-Man. While this Captain America isn't really Steve Rogers, the character who does adopt the mantle and who lurks under this mask only makes this suit even more terrifying. In Age of X-Man, Apocalypse ends up becoming an alternate version of Captain America, complete with his own shield with an A on it instead of the traditional star. He looks unstoppable and even finds his own version of sidekick Bucky Barnes in his own young clone, Genesis. Number 1, HYDRA's Supreme Suit. This suit is worn by the reality-warped version of Captain America, who had his history and personality altered with the Cosmic Cube, turning him into a longtime Hydra loyalist and sleeper agent. Instead of being red, white, and blue, this suit is gold and Hydra green. Cap still wears the star on his chest, but it glows in neon green, as does the star on his shield, which is not rounded in this version, but instead has 3 points with a gold metal cross on its front. More of a medieval kind of looking shield. His costume also has a few black accents, and his eyes glow green through his helmet. This suit isn't just terrifying to look at, but it's terrifying because of what it represents. A reality where Steve Rogers, aka Hydra Supreme, is unbelievably evil and frighteningly successful.
Kicking off the list at number 10, smacked by Thanos. We got to see Captain America and many others get the beatdown of their lives in Avengers Infinity War, but in the comic, in Infinity Gauntlet, it was somehow even more brutal. Yet in part 4 of Jim Starlin's The Infinity Gauntlet, Thanos at one point weakens himself while maintaining the stones because he wanted to take on the Avengers in a more equal fight. All of this just to impress Death. So he makes himself weak and then fist fights them. It's crazy. So Captain America is leading the Avengers into battle, and at this point, everybody is getting hit. Cyclops gets his head stuck in a clear block of force, Vision gets his insides just torn out, and then Thanos sees Cap as having such an emotional outburst, and then after Thanos destroys Cap's shield, he gives him the mighty backhand of a lifetime, knocking him out cold. And before we continue on to number 9, guys, if you could just go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, because it really goes a long way for us here at the studio. You guys are the best, thank you so much. Now back to the video. Number 9, he lost Bucky. Okay, 2005 was a wild time. We got to see Jason Todd return as the Red Hood, and Marvel had their own type of super sleeper assassin come back from the dead as well, Bucky Barnes. In 2005, Bucky Barnes returned, but of course he was never the same. Near the end of World War II, Bucky and Cap were trying to disarm a bomb on a plane while taking down Baron Zemo. The bomb went off, hurling Steve and Bucky into the freezing waters, and well, as for Cap, he came out of this pretty good. He remained frozen, just hanging out, and Bucky, he didn't end up so lucky. His body fell into the freezing waters, and at the time, a Soviet spy submarine was in the area crossing the English Channel. So they scooped him up, fixed the whole left arm situation, brainwashed him, and turned him into this brutal assassin. It's heartbreaking. See, he has all these incredible abilities that make him a fierce warrior, but he doesn't remember how he got them, making him this deadly assassin and a super crazy villain to handle. This is Steve's right-hand man. Every conflict that they go through is just painful. One of the biggest turning points of Marvel was the introduction of the Winter Soldier. This was a conflict that came to life on the big screen back in 2014 with the Winter Soldier, and we're kind of still seeing Bucky try and figure this life out. With the Falcon and the Winter Soldier coming next month on Disney Plus, we can see even more of what he has to go through post-Winter Soldier times. Number 8, Hail Hydra. This next one resulted in writer Nick Spencer getting death threats. That's right, so fans were mostly not okay with this one. Back in 2016, Captain America said 2 words that would throw every comic book fan for a loop: Hail Hydra. It all went down in 2017 Secret Wars, when Captain America's reality had been rewritten secretly by Kobik, who was a sentient cosmic cube acting under the influence of the Red Skull. So as a child, Steve was recruited and raised to believe in their ideology, which was the strong ruling for the weak, for the good of all. Now there's a pleasant nod to this in Avengers Endgame, of course, when the team goes back in time to the first Avengers plot. We see Steve get in the elevator to try and get the scepter, and then we see the whole Hydra/Shield elevator stocked full of guys. Now we don't know this at the time, but that's fully Hydra, but Steve knows this. So instead of beating everybody up and kicking ass in the elevator like he did in Winter Soldier, he just said, "Hail Hydra," and then just like that, he walked out of the elevator with a smirk on his face. It was beautiful. Number 7, Old Man Cap. At the end of Avengers Endgame, now that we're talking about it, we see Captain America return the Infinity Stones, only he doesn't shoot back to the present day after he's done. No, he sticks around, hangs out with Peggy, dances the night away, and then we see him as an old man giving the shield down to Sam Wilson just minutes later. It's a lovely end to Chris Evans' run on the character. You got a lot of feels. But in the comics, we also saw an old Captain America, but this time, it wasn't on his terms. The Iron Nail sucked all of Cap's serum out, leaving him not ripped, but also not young as well. So now Steve looked 90, and there's no way you're gonna fight at that age, let alone pick up a shield. So he would lead the Avengers and call out orders from the radio. It sounds like a pretty sweet job for us, but for Steve, he's probably like, man, this is the most boring job I've had in my entire life. Number 6. William NASLUND. He was originally introduced in the comics as the Spirit of 76 in Invaders issue 14. William Asland also held Captain America's mantle for a brief moment. This What If comic turned out to be canon, so back after the apparent death of Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes at the end of World War II, the United States approached him to be the new Captain America. The first replacement. Wow, how exciting would that be? So much pressure though. So he had the shield for a brief amount of time. He had done a couple of missions, and then he died in action. Yeah, he had to fight off these robots, and he ended up in the hands of one of them and was crushed to death. But he went down a hero. He activated a flare device that made the robot inactive, and he also summoned the other members of the All Winners to come to the rescue. So he went out a hero, short but sweet. Number 5. William Burnside. William Burnside, who had changed his name to Steve Rogers and even got work done on his face to match the look. He ended up developing another Captain America serum, and he and his buddy Jack tried to be the new Bucky and Cap. So they got enhanced abilities and they took down Red Skull. They did some pretty good work as a team. The only thing was, a year later, things started to go a little bit south. They started to become paranoid schizophrenics, so the government put them in cryogenic suspension. He went from being Captain America to being the villain, just like that. So William and his Bucky Barnes sidekick, Jack Monroe, both were in custody of Dr. Faustus, who brainwashed William to become the Grand Director, the leader of the hate group called the National Force. Number 4. 404. Cap not found. In Captain America issue 404, we see Steve Rogers squaring up against werewolves. Yeah, what a sight to see. You heard me correctly. I said werewolves. The story known as Children of the Night runs from issue 403 to 405. And during this time, Captain America is fighting off Starksboro werewolves, and then when Nightshade tries to inject Wolverine with her wolf serum, his healing factor keeps counteracting it. So Druid mesmerized him with serums too. Then the next issue we see front and center, Cap Wolf. Pretty hard to forget. So now he's a werewolf and he has faint memories of Steve Rogers. So, of course, as you would expect, it's a pretty messy good time. Number 3, Civil War. Captain America Civil War was released in 2016, directed by the Russo brothers, and the whole movie, like the comic, is superhero politics. If you're a superhero, you have to register. You can't just be out filming yourself doing super TikToks and then you end up accidentally exploding a school. It's just not gonna fly anymore. And in the movie, it's Wanda Maximoff who kickstarts the Sokovia Accords, forcing Tony to side with the government as he feels responsible for Charles Spencer, among many others' deaths. You know, with all the events that unfolded with the Age of Ultron stuff. So Steve wants to protect Bucky this whole time, and of course, freedom throughout the team is encouraged. Now, eventually, due to Baron Zemo's work, he gets Tony in the same room as Steve, and we see footage of a brainwashed Bucky kill Tony's parents. The next 10 minutes are filled with Steve having to fight off Tony in order to save his best friend. And it's truly heartbreaking, and it all ends with Steve sticking the shield in Tony's chest, and as he carries away a broken down Winter Soldier, Tony says to him the shield does not belong to him, it belongs to his father. And that's the last time he sees the shield and Tony Stark, so it all goes downhill for Cap for quite a while after this point. Number 2. Stuck in Dimension Z. In the comic storyline Castaway in Dimension Z, Captain America ends up getting stuck in this land created by Arnim Zola, and he's in there for 12 years. That's some Black Mirror type torture. That's like crazy. So during the 12 years, Steve raised a boy named Ian, who's a kid he rescued from Zola as his own. So the whole thing is that Steve has to return to Earth soon before this implant on his torso that's combined with the virus of Zola's consciousness takes over his mind. Not a great scenario. Also, ouch, that doesn't look too comfortable of a procedure. It's one of the more brutal body injuries, and of course the whole being trapped for 12 years element, I mean, that just adds to this already horrible nightmare. And finally, number 1. Shot by Sharon Carter. We go back now to the Civil War comic book event where Captain America was killed by his girlfriend Sharon Carter. Yeah, so after Crossbones sniped him, Agent 13, who at the time was Cap's girlfriend, delivered the final bullet from a much closer range. Well, it turns out it wasn't Sharon who was doing the work, really. The classic brainwashing made this defeat happen. Dr. Faustus. Okay, this causes a whole chain of events. I mean, for starters, Bucky decides he should then kill Iron Man after this, blaming him for the death of Steve Rogers. And then also Falcon ends up going after his own lead, he just leaves. And now Tony ended up showing Bucky the letter Cap wrote about how he should be the next Captain America. And Bucky agrees to take the spot only if he can operate solo. No government, no big brother watching, just let me do my job, move out of the way, you guys suck. To think all this came to a climax after Steve's girlfriend was the one to deliver that final blow just adds insult to injury.
Number 10. RODGERS. This alternate version of Captain America resided in Earth 311, the 1602 reality, but initially came from the dystopian future reality of Earth 460, where Purple Man, aka Kilgrave, had become president for life. As such, Purple Man had seen Captain America as one of the last remaining threats to his dictatorship, and rather than make a martyr out of him through execution, he sent him back into the past, displacing the hero. Captain America took a new identity in the reality of Earth 311, adopting the name RODGERS, and used his opportunity to warn the First Nations peoples of the Americas of the risk posed to their existence by the settlers who would come. As RODGERS, during his time on Earth 311, Captain America helped maintain peace between the indigenous peoples of the land and the Roanoke colony settlers. In this reality, Roanoke also never disappeared due to the fact that they had RODGERS there to help them survive the harsh environment of their new home. Number 9. Iron Man. The bullet points version of Steve Rogers never became a super soldier. Instead, he joins Project Iron Man during World War II, becoming the first Iron Man in history. In order to become this new mechanical hero, he has to become surgically grafted to the suit. He would then fight during World War II and later retire but be called back into action to take on the Hulk, who in this reality was Peter Parker. As in most realities, Steve, even as Iron Man, is really no match for that hulking behemoth and ends up dying in battle against him. And friends, friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list, if you want more lists like it, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8. Age of X. This version of Captain America was kind of a villain, although it wasn't entirely his fault. He was led to believe that in order to protect the world, he and his team of Avengers would have to take out and defeat all of the mutants, which included Cap hunting down not just all kinds of mutants, but all ages of mutants as well, if you pick up what I'm putting down. This Captain America mowed down tons of mutant kind with a gun, including Mystique, who was guarding mutant children. Fortunately, Mystique with her dying breath causes Captain America to question his mission and doubt that his objective is truly noble. He decides to go against orders and instead fight alongside the mutants working to protect them. Cap dies a hero, taking on the Hulk, who decides to stick with the mission, calling Steve a traitor. Once again, another reality where it's Cap versus Hulk and Hulk just destroys Cap. Number 7. Union Soldier Steven Rogers. What if Captain America fought in the American Civil War? Well, you can bet this is the version of the hero that we would get. Steven Rogers vs 717 is the character who first appeared in the What If Captain America issue number 1 out of 2005. Here we explore just that version of Steve, who served in the American Civil War as a Union soldier. In the end, he turns against his villainous Colonel Bucky Barnes, who in this reality becomes the supervillain White Skull. In so doing, Steven becomes injured and is taken in and saved by the Eagle Chief, Wee Piak. Not only does the Eagle Chief save his life, but he also grants him extra strength, transforming him into the hero Captain America, who is armed with a mystical shield, peak human physique, and reflexes, and is rumored to be protected against all harm. This version of Captain America fights hard throughout the years to make sure the United States is a place of opportunity for all who call it their home. He truly represents the Captain America ideal of equality. Number 6. Ultimate Captain America. In the Ultimate Universe of Earth 1610, Captain America is considered to be even more powerful than his 616 counterpart. The super soldier serum here didn't just prolong his life and leave him in peak human condition across the board, increasing his strength, speed, and durability, but it also gave him an accelerated healing factor and put him at a superhuman level when it came to his strength and his speed. It was once claimed that Steve Rogers of this reality could bench press a car. Across the board, this version could be considered stronger than the 616 version, although I would argue that 616 Captain America does have better leadership skills than our 1610 version. But that's just me. Number 5. Danielle Cage. Danielle Cage is the future daughter of Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. This could be who the future little 616 Danielle Cage ends up as, or maybe not. Only time will tell if Danielle ends up having a similar future to this alternate version of herself and Captain America, or not. In this reality of Earth 15061, Danielle Cage grows up to become the hero Captain America, possessing the abilities of both her father and her mother, meaning she is both super strong and super durable and can fly, all that good stuff you've come to know and love from both Luke and Jessica's heroic power sets. As Captain America in the future, she also has inherited and wields the Captain America shield. Number 4. MCU Captain America. I mean, of course MCU Captain America has to make our cut. The Marvel Cinematic version of the character is not only extremely popular, but is also deemed worthy enough to lift Thor's hammer, giving us that awesome fight scene in Avengers Endgame where Thor and Captain America are switching back and forth, alternating between sharing and wielding Mjolnir and Stormbreaker. This ultimately gives Cap a big power boost, being able to wield Thor's weapons, especially considering that Thor is one of the most powerful members of the Avengers team, in part because of his powerful, magical, and also kinda cosmic weapons. Number 3. Carol Danvers. That's right, Carol at one point managed to become Captain America. This has actually happened in more than one reality, but for this list we're going to focus on the version of Carol Cap that comes from the Venomverse. She appears as Captain America in Venomverse War Stories and hails from the same reality as Venom Rocket, Earth 18197. In the story she appears in, Captain America Carol Danvers and Venom Rocket battle it out as Rocket is looking to cash in on a bounty for the Kree who want Carol Danvers. Venom Rocket and Captain America seem pretty evenly matched here, but in the end, Rocket does not manage to capture Carol, and Carol seemingly ends up the victor of that match, though undoubtedly left with a pretty big mess to clean up as a result of their destructive battle. Carol Danvers as Captain America still seemingly possesses some version of her Kree physiology and her 616 power set here, making her a pretty powerful alternate version of Captain America. Number 2. Super Soldier. Super Soldier hails from the Amalgam universe. Stories and characters created using the combined lore of DC Comics' main roster of superheroes and villains and Marvel Comics' main roster of superheroes and villains. Super Soldier himself is an alternate version created by combining the heroes Captain America from Marvel and Superman from DC. Clark Kent ended up in the Super Soldier program during World War II, which used alien DNA taken from a corpse that was discovered to alter Clark Kent permanently, granting him superhuman powers. He has the combined power set of both Cap and Supes, making him pretty crazy powerful, although he also comes with his own highly dangerous villain as well, the Green Skull, and his own weakness to the ore known as Green K. So keep in mind, he does have that weakness. Number 1. Soldier Supreme. Soldier Supreme is what you get when you combine the mystical powerhouse of Doctor Strange with the all-American war hero Captain America. The result is a character who happens to be tough, strong, fast, and a gifted fighter, while also possessing tons of mystical knowledge and abilities. Soldier Supreme hails from Warp World, the reality created by Gamora when she folded the universe in half using the power of the Infinity Stones. Here, Steve Rogers participated in the Super Soldier program, which was really a front for something less scientific and more magical in nature. Conducting a series of rituals, Dr. Morgan Erskine transformed Steven Rogers into the Soldier Supreme.